The sky over planet X92 was silent and dark. Only the stars gave light. Suddenly, a silver object fell from the sky, cutting through the clouds like a burning arrow. It crashed into the rocky hills. Shaking the ground, flames rose from the wreckage, and black smoke spread across the night. Dr. Eli Grant stood outside his secret research base, staring at the fire in the distance. He worked alone on this planet, studying rare plants and alien minerals for the Earth Science Council. This planet was supposed to be uninhabited, no visitors, no life. But now something or someone had just fallen from the sky. Eli took his scanner and followed the trail of smoke. It led him to the wreckage of an alien ship, sharp metal twisted. Like a giant beast had died here. He carefully stepped closer, flashlight in hand, among the broken pieces. He heard a sound, soft, weak breathing. He found her lying under a metal wing. An alien female, tall and strong-looking, but clearly injured. Her skin was pale blue and covered in cuts. Her blood was silver and glowing. Eli froze for a moment. Unsure what to do, he checked her vitals. Heart rate was falling. Oxygen level too low. If he left her here, she would die within minutes. She opened her eyes and looked at him, not with fear, but with pain and confusion. "I'm not your enemy," Eli said softly. Not sure if she understood. Still, she didn't attack or speak. She just stared. Eli pulled her out from the wreck and took her to his lab. He didn't know if helping her was against intergalactic law, but he couldn't watch her die back in the lab. Eli used every medical tool he had. Her body rejected normal alien medicine, and she kept bleeding. She needed blood, but hers was too different. None of the lab samples matched. He stared at the red bag of human blood in his cooler, the one he brought in case of emergencies. "It's a risk," he whispered to himself, "but it's the only chance." He connected the bag and began a slow transfusion. The alien's body shook for a moment, then calmed. Her breathing slowed, and her heart stabilized. Eli watched in amazement as her body started healing. The silver blood mixed with the red, and her skin began to close its wounds. He stepped back, still unsure what he had done. No record in human or alien history showed this was possible. Hours passed, and Eli kept watch beside her. She slept, her chest rising and falling in rhythm. He took DNA samples and studied them under the microscope. Something was happening. Her cells were changing, reacting to the human blood. Suddenly, she woke up with a loud gasp. Sitting upright on the table, her eyes were glowing a strange mix of silver and green. She looked at her hands, confused and afraid. Then she turned to Eli, her voice dry but clear. "What did you do to me?" she asked. Eli stepped forward slowly. "I saved your life," he said. "You were dying, and nothing worked, so I used human blood." The alien woman touched her chest, then her stomach. She closed her eyes as if listening to something inside her. After a moment, she opened them again, shocked. "There's something inside me," she said. "But this isn't alien." Eli's heart stopped. "What do you mean?" he asked, confused. She looked at him with fear, then with wonder. "Your blood didn't just heal me," she whispered. "It changed something. I can feel it growing." The lights in the lab flickered for a second. Eli checked his scanner. It picked up a new life signal. He stared at the screen, not believing what he saw. There was a second heartbeat, small, faint, but clearly alive. "You're pregnant," Eli said slowly. Not trusting his own words, the alien woman stood in silence, her hands shaking. "This should be impossible," she said. "Our species cannot mix. This should not happen." But it did. Outside, the wrecked ship still burned, and in the sky above, a strange beacon blinked. It was calling someone, far away, someone who was now coming. And deep inside the alien woman's body, something new had begun, something that neither species was ready for. The human's blood had saved her life, and unknowingly started something that could change the universe. Asterisk. The scream was not human. It echoed through the metal walls of the research lab, shaking every loose wire and glass beaker. Eli rushed into the room, heart pounding. Varaya stood in the center, back arched, glowing veins pulsing across her arms. Her body was floating 2 inches above the ground. Machines around her blinked with strange energy not from Earth, and not from her planet either. Her skin shimmered between her original color and something new, something human. Eli called her name, afraid to touch her. Suddenly, her feet hit the ground and she collapsed, breathing hard. He ran to her side, checking her vitals. Her heart was beating fast. No, 2 hearts. One was hers, but the other was something new. Something not fully alien anymore. I can feel it moving. Viraya whispered, her voice shaking. It's not just life, it's speaking to me. Eli stared at the monitor, trying to make sense of it. Every scan showed impossible results. Her DNA was changing slowly, some of it rewriting itself to human code. She wasn't just carrying a child. She was becoming something else. What is it saying? Eli asked, trying to stay calm. Viraya closed her eyes, placing a hand over her stomach. It doesn't use words, she said. It sends me feelings. Curiosity, hunger, fear, and love. Eli stepped back, chills crawling up his neck. Aliens were not supposed to feel emotions like love. At least not Viraya's kind. They were raised for battle, trained to control emotions, not accept them. And yet, she cried, silently, as the emotions flooded her mind. Eli didn't know what to say. Then the alarms blared, breaking the moment. Something or someone had landed nearby. Eli checked the radar. A ship had entered the planet's orbit, cloaked but not fully invisible. It matched a design from Viraya's species. But this one carried weapons, heavy weapons, designed to kill quickly and cleanly. They found me, Viraya said quietly, standing up. Her eyes burned with a new light, half fear, half fire. If they learn what I carry, they'll destroy us both. Eli nodded, grabbing the case from under his desk. Inside were emergency supplies, old military gear, and a small teleport beacon. We need to hide, he said. The cave system beneath the lab, no signals reached down there. They moved quickly, but carefully. Viraya walked slower now, her hand often on her stomach. Eli noticed her senses were stronger. She could hear distant sounds, feel the vibration of footsteps, and sense movement in the air. It's not just growing, she said as they entered the cave. It's waking up. Hours passed underground. Eli set up temporary scanners, trying to block the enemy's tracking system. He connected to the ship logs Viraya had stored in her suit's memory. What he found shocked him. Viraya wasn't just a soldier. She was part of a special bloodline, chosen by her leaders to continue a pure, war-focused race. No emotion, no weakness, only strength. But now, with a single act of human mercy, that purity was gone. The logs had another secret, a warning from her homeworld's archives, one that hadn't been followed in centuries. Do not mix the blood, it said, for the child of both shall bring unity or extinction. Eli sat in silence, reading the words again and again. Some ancient part of her people feared this possibility, a half-human, half-alien being born not in war, but through survival and compassion. What if they were right to fear it? Viraya placed a hand on his shoulder. You saved me, she said. But now you carry this weight too. He looked at her, unsure of what to feel. He had only wanted to save a life, not start a war. But something inside him also whispered, maybe this child could stop the war, not with violence, but with something far more dangerous, hope. Just then, a voice echoed through the cave, sharp, metallic, in her native tongue. Eli didn't understand it, but Viraya did. They're here, she said, eyes narrowing, and they're not alone. The child inside her kicked for the first time, and somewhere deep in the cave walls, the scanner picked up a strange pulse, not a weapon, not a threat, but something ancient. Waking up in response, this planet had its own secrets, and they were only just beginning to reveal themselves. The assassin arrived in silence. No lights, no sound, no engine trails in the sky. Just a dark shadow that moved faster than the wind. The kind of shadow that didn't ask questions. It simply ended lives. Miles below, Varaya opened her eyes. Her breath caught in her throat, her hand instinctively reaching for her stomach. "I felt something," she whispered to Eli. "Something cold. Something that knows me." Eli checked the radar, still blank, but Varaya shook her head. "They're here," she said. "I don't need a screen to feel them." The cave felt smaller now. The walls no longer safe but tight and watching. Varaya's instinct, strained from childhood, returned. She had once hunted others. Now her own kind hunted her. "They sent a shadow burn," she said, her voice hollow. Eli had read about them in Alien Records, silent killers, part machine, part organic, created for one purpose, to erase traitors without a trace. And Varaya, now carrying a forbidden's child, was the greatest betrayal of all. "How do we fight it?" Eli asked, gripping the pulse rifle with shaking hands. "You don't," Varaya answered. "You run, you hide, or you die." They packed fast, deeper into the tunnels, but every corner felt wrong, every echo suspicious. The child inside her moved again, stronger now, and for a moment, Varaya saw a flash of something, not memory, but vision. A bright field 2 suns above, a world where humans and her kind walked together without weapons. The vision vanished, replaced by the cold cave again. But it left a feeling, a deep knowing, that the child could be more than a target. Eli and Varaya reached a chamber with carvings on the walls, symbols older than her species, glowing softly in response to her presence. "They know what you carry," Eli said, pointing to a symbol of a star joined with a spiral. Varaya nodded. "This place. It's not just stone, it's memory." The glow intensified as she touched the wall. A burst of energy flowed into her hand, gentle, warm, protective. Then the lights died. Silence filled the air. "Too sharp, too sudden. Run," she whispered. Metal spike hit the wall where her head had been. The shadow burn had arrived. Without sound, without warning, it stepped from the darkness, cloaked in black armor that bent the light around it. Its eyes were hollow lenses, its arms long and sharp. Eli fired, but the bullet stopped mid-air and melted. The assassin turned its head slowly, calculating. Then it spoke in Varaya's language. "You carry the error," it said. "Surrender, and your death will be painless." Varaya stood in front of Eli, arms wide. "You want the child," she said. "You'll have to go through me." "I already have," it replied, then vanished. A blur moved past them, and Eli collapsed, blood on his shoulder, unconscious but alive. Varaya screamed, not from fear but rage. She lunged, fighting like the warrior she had once been. The battle was silent but brutal. She struck the shadow burn with force, but it healed instantly. Each hit she took slowed her down. But something inside her burned brighter. The child, with every heartbeat, her body adjusted. Her strength changed. She didn't just fight like her people. She began to fight like something new, something more. With a final surge, she screamed. A shockwave blasting from her body, the shadow burn flew back, hitting the wall with a crack that echoed like thunder. Its body glitched, flickering between solid and smoke. It looked at her again, not with fear, but confusion. "You are no longer pure," it said. "You are something else, then." It vanished into particles, gone with the air. Varaya fell to her knees, breathing hard. Eli groaned beside her, slowly waking. "You okay?" he asked weakly. She touched his face and nodded. "We survived." But the cave trembled now. The shadow burn had sent a signal before it died. More would come, stronger, faster, without hesitation. "We can't run forever," Eli said. "No," Varaya replied, "but maybe we can stop them." She looked at the ancient carvings again, now fully glowing. The chamber responded to the child's presence. A door opened behind the wall, revealing a path deeper into the planet. "Maybe this child is not just hunted," she said. "Maybe he was expected." And as they stepped into the light of the unknown corridor, the pulse of new life echoed in the stone. Something ancient had awakened, and it had waited a long time for this child. Asterisk, the walls were breathing. Not like lungs, but like memory. Every step Eli and Virea took echoed softly, not through sound, but through time. The tunnel behind the glowing door felt alive, watching them, remembering them. This place is not on any map, Eli said quietly. That's because it was. Never meant to be found, Virea replied, her eyes scanning the carvings. Strange symbols lined the walls, some matching her people's oldest language, others entirely unknown. Yet as they walked, the symbols slowly rearranged themselves, forming words they could understand. The child is the bridge, the wall whispered. Virea paused, her hand touching her stomach. She felt it again, that spark inside her growing brighter. It wasn't just a baby anymore, it was something. Aware, Eli activated a scanner and held it near her. What he saw made him step back. Your cells are syncing with mine, he said, confused. Our DNA is mixing. Outside the womb, the child's energy was no longer contained. It was beginning to influence the world around them. Machines buzzed with new frequency, old stone shifted in response to emotions. This wasn't evolution, it was a new design forming in real time. Your blood saved me, Virea said slowly. But it didn't just save, it unlocked something old. They reached a circular room, larger than any space they'd seen. Underground, at the center stood a pillar of light, and floating inside it an object. It was a crystal, ancient and cracked, pulsing with the same rhythm as the child. Ele reached toward it, but it burned his skin without touching. Virea stepped forward, and the crystal calmed, glowing softer. A voice filled the chamber, not male, not female, not even alive. It spoke in the same language as the carvings. Two bloodlines, once torn, now joined, shall birth the voice of balance. What is this place? Eli asked, overwhelmed. Virea stared at the crystal, lost in thought. It's a memory core, she said, used by the ancients before the star divide. Long ago, her people believed the universe was one great harmony, but war broke that harmony, separating species into fragments. Her kind chose strength, power, control. Humans evolved with feeling, freedom, and chaos now. Through a single moment of compassion, one human saving one dying alien, the broken line was reconnecting. Through the child, a forgotten truth was being born again. Just then, alarms echoed from Eli's COM device. A message from the upper satellite, decoded and urgent. Human Council has intercepted the alien kill signal, he read. They know we're here. And they're coming, not to help, but to contain, to study, control, or worse, destroy. They'll see us both as threats, Eli said. They'll want to take the child. Virea placed a hand on the crystal. The room lit up with images, not memories, but possibilities. One showed the child standing between two armies, stopping bullets mid-air. Another showed cities burning, the stars going dark, the child weeping alone. It depends on how we raise him, Virea whispered. Whether he learns to destroy or to forgive. Then the crystal cracked louder, and a pulse spread out from the chamber. Above ground, satellites failed, radars blinked out. Something had awakened deep in the planet's core. A new signal was born, not from the enemy, not from Earth, but from the child himself. The pulse spread to space, bouncing from ship to ship, and for a few seconds, everyone human, alien, soldier, leader heard the same thing in their mind. A whisper, soft but unshakable. I am coming. Virea fell to her knees, gripping her stomach. It's starting, she said. He's not waiting to be born. He's waking up now. Eli held her up, panic in his eyes. But he's not ready. He's too small. We need more time. No, Virea said, her voice growing deeper, stronger. He is time. The child's heartbeat echoed in every direction. And far above, the human ship and alien destroyer locked onto their location. Enemies who had never spoken were now heading to the same place for one reason: to decide what to do about the impossible child, the hybrid who wasn't supposed to exist. And beneath the ancient stone, in the warm light of the crystal chamber, Varaya felt her child's first true thought. I see them, the voice said in her mind. And they are all afraid. The first shot wasn't fired from a gun, it was fired from fear, above planet X-92. Two warships appeared from hyperspace. One was human, the Earth Council's black iron vessel, Resolute. The other was alien, a sharp-winged cruiser known as the Silent Knife. They were enemies in history, but today they came for the same reason. To stop a child that had never asked to be born, inside the ancient chamber. Varaya felt the sky shake. Her pulse raced as the child inside her stirred, no longer quietly. Ailey stared at the scanner. It was blinking so fast it almost glowed. Whatever you felt before, he said. It's stronger now. Like he's reacting to them. He knows they're afraid, Varaya whispered. And he's afraid of their fear. Outside, troops landed. Not shooting, but surrounding. The two armies had no alliance, no peace treaty, yet neither wanted to be the first to attack. They had been warned. If they harmed the mother, the child's reaction could be unpredictable. From within the ship, Varaya's former commander stepped out. General Kale, the one who once trained her to kill without blinking. He looked the same as before, cold eyes, perfect armor, heart made of iron, but now his orders were different. Bring her out, he said. Alive if possible, inside the chamber. Varaya heard his voice through the cum channel. Varaya, daughter of Clan Talix. Surrender the anomaly, he said, or face execution under ancient law. Eli turned to her. What does he mean by anomaly? Varaya didn't blink. He doesn't see a child, she said. He sees a threat to our bloodline. Then another voice came through, this time from the human ship. Dr. Halen, Earth's chief bioethicist, spoke calmly, but every word felt like a trap. We don't wish harm, she said, but we cannot allow unregulated hybrid life to spread. Hand over the child, and we will ensure safety. For one of you, Ila's jaw tightened. Translation, he said. They want the baby. And maybe one corpse. The crystal chamber began to hum. The ancient walls reacted to the stress, glowing in rhythm with the child's heartbeat. A bright symbol appeared on the floor beneath Varaya, a symbol of balance, split in half. Eli noticed it crack, just slightly, as the tension outside grew stronger. We can't let them near him, he said. They'll tear him apart trying to understand him. Varaya stood, her body weak but her spirit unshaken. No one touches my son, she said. Not as long as I breathe. She stepped into the light of the open chamber doors, and outside. Every soldier aimed their weapon. Ellie followed, holding up a signal flare, a symbol of peace, not surrender. General Kale stepped forward alone, his voice echoing across the canyon. You broke our laws, Varaya, he said. You let human weakness infect your blood. You created something that shouldn't exist. Varaya looked him in the eyes, her voice like thunder. I didn't create him alone, she said. He chose to live. And I chose to let him. Kale raised his weapon. In the name of the High Order. But he never finished. The wind stopped. The light changed. Every weapon powered down without warning. And then he appeared, not walking, not crawling, but floating from the chamber behind Varaya. A small glowing form, no larger than a newborn. Eyes wide, unblinking, glowing like twin stars. Soldiers from both sides fell to their knees. Some wept without knowing why. Others dropped their guns, feeling emotions they didn't understand. Peace, sadness, hope, guilt. The child didn't speak, but he was heard by every mind. I feel you, he said. I am not your enemy. General Kale dropped his weapon. Stunned, Dr. Halen fell silent, her hands trembling, and Ellie. He simply stood and cried. This isn't war, Varaya said softly. This is birth. The child raised a hand, and for a moment, the sky above turned white, not with fire but with memory. Every mind saw flashes of old battles, lost lovers, ruined cities, and forgotten dreams. And in those memories, forgiveness. When the light faded, the child floated back to Varaya's arms. Asleep, peaceful, the world held its breath. Then, for the first time in history, a human soldier reached across to an alien warrior, and they shook hands not as enemies, but as witnesses to something greater than war. Asterisk, the sky above X-92 turned red, not from sunset, but from fire. Missiles sliced through the clouds like blades. The shaky piece didn't last long. Somewhere, someone panicked. And someone else pulled the trigger. It began with one explosion. Then another. Within seconds, the entire valley turned into a war zone again. Troops scrambled, ships launched, and lasers carved light into the sky. Varaya screamed not from fear, but from the sudden pain in her body. The child was coming, and the universe was tearing itself apart at the same time. Eli grabbed her arm, helping her back toward the ancient chamber. "Hang on just a little longer," he said. Varaya gritted her teeth, sweat rolling down her face. "There is no longer," she gasped. "He's ready now." Alarms echoed underground as shockwaves shook the tunnel walls. Dust fell from the ceiling. Sparks jumped from dead machines. The ancient lights along the walls flickered like dying stars. And through it all, her breath, her heartbeat, the child's energy pulsed louder. They reached the inner chamber. The crystal at the center had changed. Now it glowed gold, humming like a heartbeat. It was reacting to her, welcoming her, guiding her. Aile placed her gently in the circle of light. She was shaking, glowing, sweating silver and red. Two bloods, one body, one child. "Stay with me," Eli whispered, holding her hand. "I'm not afraid," she said, her voice breaking. "But he doesn't want to hurt anyone." Then she cried out. A wave of energy burst from her body, blasting outward like a soundless scream, above ground. Weapons froze in the hands of soldiers, literally, as if time paused. The two warships in the sky stopped mid-flight, their engines silenced, their radars dead. Every pilot inside felt something press against their mind. A whisper, calm but powerful. "Please, stop fighting." The child was not born yet, but he had already spoken to every heart. And yet, not everyone listened. From the shadows outside the chamber, a single rogue mercenary stepped forward. A former war criminal, hired by neither side, acting on his own. He aimed a plasma rifle at the chamber doorway. "Can't risk it," he muttered. "One freak kid ends everything." He pulled the trigger. Eli saw the beam of blue light coming, and without thinking, he moved. It hit him in the side, and he fell to the floor, unconscious. Varaya screamed again, but this time it was more than pain. It was rage, pure protective instinct, amplified by something cosmic. Her eyes turned white. Her body lifted in the air. The child was coming, now, not waiting, not asking, but arriving. Wind roared through the sealed chamber. Every wall lit up with ancient runes, spinning in circles, and in a blinding flash of golden light he was born. The room fell silent. No crying, no noise, just stillness. Varaya held him in her arms, tiny, glowing, heart beating like a quiet song. He looked up at her with eyes that held galaxies. No fear, no confusion, just love. Eli coughed, barely awake. He saw them through blurred vision, and he smiled. "You did it," he whispered. "He's beautiful." Varaya nodded, tears on her face. "He's not just ours," she said softly. "He's theirs too." All of them. The child lifted one small hand, and every weapon on the surface melted into dust. The skies cleared, ships powered down, and the noise of war faded into quiet. The mercenary who fired the shot fell to his knees, dropping his weapon, not because of guilt, but because the child looked at him and made him remember every soul he had hurt. He sobbed like a child, and no one stopped him. Outside, soldiers looked up. The clouds above parted, and golden light poured through. They didn't understand what had happened, but they knew something greater than war had arrived. Back in the chamber, Varaya held her son close. He had no name yet, but the walls around them glowed with one word, repeated over and over in hundreds of languages: hope. The world did not end. It exhaled. At sunrise, X-92 looked nothing like a war zone. There were no weapons on the ground, no marching soldiers. Instead, the valley was silent. filled only with soft wind and long shadows, and at the center of it all, a child slept, wrapped in cloth made from Eli's torn coat, lying gently on a bed of moss inside the ancient crystal chamber. His breath was quiet, but every exhale sent ripples through the air like the planet itself was listening. Virea sat beside him, still and watchful. She looked tired but calm. She had bled, screamed, and risked everything, but now her arms were full, and the universe was quiet. Eli stood nearby, his shoulder bandaged, his eyes locked on the child. He still couldn't believe what they had done, not just survived, but changed something that had never been changed before. Across the hills, both armies had stopped moving. Tents rose, but not for battle, for rest, for healing. Alien medics helped human engineers fix their broken ships. Human nurses treated wounded alien scouts without hesitation. They didn't speak the same language, but they didn't need to anymore. The child had said nothing since his birth, but his silence spoke volumes. There was no command, no control. Only a feeling in every heart. Enough. Back at the chamber, Virea gently touched her son's forehead. "He doesn't belong to just us," she said. "He belongs to everyone." Eli nodded. "But how do we protect him when the galaxy doesn't even understand him?" A voice answered, not from a mouth, but from the air itself. "You teach them." The child opened his eyes. Glowing softly, he sat up, still quiet, still peaceful around him. The ancient walls of the chamber glowed with words again, not warnings, but messages. Not a weapon, not a ruler, a beginning in orbit. Warships received a strange signal, nothing threatening, nothing violent, just coordinates and a single repeating word. "Come." Diplomats were sent, leaders followed, and for the first time in history, humans and aliens didn't meet with guards. They met with questions. Weeks passed. A city rose around the crystal chamber, not built for power, but for peace. People came from every species, some curious, some afraid, but none left unchanged. The child grew fast, not in body, but in awareness. He walked at 6 days old. He spoke with his eyes, and when someone stood near him, they felt seen, understood, forgiven. Virea became a symbol, not just of motherhood, but of sacrifice. She had chosen life over loyalty, love over law, and Eli. Eli wrote everything. His journals became sacred to both Earth and alien colonies. The child was never named in the way most children are. People called him the First, or the Bridge, but he called himself one thing only: Son of Peace. Years later, standing beneath 2 suns, the boy spoke aloud for the first time. Not in private, not in secret, but to a crowd of thousands. "I was born in fear," he said, "but I was raised in hope. You feared what I would become, but I became what you needed. Not a soldier, not a god, but a reminder that sometimes the most powerful thing in the universe is when enemies stop shooting and start listening." The people cheered, not because they were told to, but because something inside them healed. And so, the war didn't end with a treaty. It ended with a child, born of blood, pain, and an impossible choice. A child who reminded them what it meant to feel again, to hope again, to start again. The galaxy moved on, but it never forgot. It never forgot the scream in the cave, the glow in the child's eyes, the moment time itself paused, just to watch him be born. And somewhere, deep in space, old enemies looked up and asked themselves a quiet question: what if this is only the beginning?